everyone. Welcome to the MudRoom, our weekly free and live Uncommon Sense parenting class. How's everybody today? It has been just one of those really busy mornings around here, so I apologize if I'm a little bit out of breath. I'm finally able to sit down. Does that ever happen to you? Where you accidentally schedule everything in your week one right after the other? Even though there's so much room in the rest of your schedule, I don't know how that happens. For some reason, Wednesday mornings in particular are always just complete chaos around here. And I triple and double book them. There's something about Wednesday mornings. They're the day I want to get shit done. Alrighty, before we get into our topic today, allow me to introduce myself. Hi, my name is Allana Robinson, and I'm a parenting coach for parents of toddlers, preschoolers, and kindergartners. And I help you understand why your children are misbehaving and how to fix it without yelling, shaming, or timeouts. I'm your host here on the MudRoom. I'm also the host of the Parenting Posse Facebook group, and I'm the creator and facilitator of the Parentability program, where I help you raise well-behaved kids of your own. So if you're watching, please say hi. Let me know how you're doing. You can totally ask questions as we go along. I love chatting with y'all. If you're catching a replay, do me a solid and drop me a replay in the comments. And no matter how you're catching this, if you would do me a solid and subscribe and or leave a review, depending on what platform you're on, that would mean the absolute world to me. Alrighty. So, hold on, I got stuff in my way. Can I see my comments? Yes, awesome. Okay, so I often get parents coming to me and saying I've done everything that I know how to do. I've spanked, I've given timeouts, I've used a sticker chart, I've tried to talk to them about it, I've ignored them, and my kids are still misbehaving. I have been super consistent though, just like you said. And you're right. Being consistent is important. But when a parent comes to me with a laundry list of stuff that they've tried, usually just in the last couple of months, I really have to wonder how consistent it's even possible that you've actually been. Especially when your child is between 2 to 3 years old. In order to try all of that stuff, you've probably been consistent for maybe a month or two at best. So, how consistent could you have really been with it? But consistency is also not the only important ingredient here. If you're consistently doing something that isn't moving you towards your goal, it doesn't matter how consistent you are, you're going to stay stuck. Sometimes consistency isn't actually serving you, as much as it pains me to say that. Consistency in spanking your child is just teaching them that hitting is an acceptable way to work out their frustrations. That's not moving you towards your goal of independent, competent, well-behaved kids. Consistently putting your child in timeout is just teaching them that shunning and isolating people is how we resolve a conflict. Consistently using a sticker chart is highlighting their failures on an ongoing basis. Consistently talking to them about their behavior when they aren't calm and while offering no alternatives that meet their needs, that's just stressing them out. And consistently ignoring them is teaching them that when someone does something undesired, that we should abandon them. It takes consistency doing the right things at the right time for consistency to actually work. The goddess of consistency is not a solo act. She needs a sidekick. I recently saw a meme on Instagram that said, when you continue to be irritated by someone who refuses to change, you are also refusing to change. And that reminded me of another quote, which is frequently attributed to Einstein, but apparently he didn't actually say it. But it goes, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. Now, you could take that to mean that you shouldn't be consistent. Or how I suggest that you take it is to mean that if you've been consistent with something, and by consistent I'm talking months to years, not trying it for a couple weeks or for a couple of days, and you're not seeing any improvement, and I'm going to ask that you actually keep track, because improvements often look very minor as they happen, but when we clump them all together, they actually add up to huge improvements. Then it's time to try something new. It's time to look critically at what you're doing and at the very least tweak it or troubleshoot it. Excuse me. Oh, it's dry in here. Now that doesn't mean that you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, okay? Which is what happens when you're jumping around from strategy to strategy to strategy. It just means that you need to look at what's working and what isn't and try something new for the stuff that isn't. One of the problems with these like punitive strategies like spanking or timeouts or sticker charts is that they don't leave you anywhere to go. There's no way... Oh, excuse me. I've got a frog in my throat suddenly that I haven't had all day, but now that I'm talking on live camera, of course, it's hitting. Okay, where were we? Right, they don't leave you anywhere to go. There's no way to tweak or troubleshoot them because they're so focused on condemning bad behavior versus teaching how to behave well, right? And that's often where parents are when I meet them. They're like, I don't know any other way to tell them not to hit, not to scream, not to run away. Insert whatever your child is doing that you want to stop. Yeah? You've tried consistently telling them what not to do, and it isn't working. So it's time to do the opposite and teach them what to do. If you're dealing with a behavior and it's getting worse and worse and worse, how you're dealing with it just isn't effective. And it's time to try something new because you're wasting your energy. So it's time to get out of your box, right? Find a new way to say it. Find a new way to ask it. Find a new way to show them what you want from them and how to do that. I'm going to be really honest. This is like 90% of what I do as a parenting coach is just finding new ways to teach our kids. Just the other day, I was chatting with a client and she was saying that her son is just completely refusing to pick up his room anymore. It's becoming like these huge multi-day family-wide battles every week and she's over it. But pretty much everything else she said was like his other goals are going great. So as I do, I asked her what she'd tried and she gave me just a huge list of strategies, like 99.9% of which I have actually taught her. But in the process to listening her list it out, I saw a gap that she didn't because she was just too close to it. She was too emotionally involved in it, which is so often the case with our kids, me included. I can't tell you how many times my husband has parroted my own advice back to me because I'm too emotionally involved with my own kids to practice what I preach. But anyways, I knew two things about her son from previous conversations and from having worked with them for a while. One, that he is terrified of illness. He does not want to get sick. And two, he's really into emergency services in general. Police, fire, ambulance, he's all over that. So I was like, okay, have you approached this from a health and safety standpoint? Like, use the same tools, but instead of centering your desire for a clean house, center his health and safety? And she was like, no, but that's genius. You're right. That is a common concern. They had a common concern. She just couldn't see it because she was way too close. She didn't have to reinvent the wheel. She didn't have to abandon everything that she's been doing for the last several years. She just needed to tweak her approach. It's not unusual at all for my clients to hear a tweaking suggestion that I give them and for them to be like, oh my God, that's so obvious. Why didn't I think of that? Well, one, because you're too close to it, but the main reason is because usually they're still stuck in trying to figure out how to stop the behavior they want versus collaborating with their child and teaching the behavior that they do want. They hit a dead end. They have nowhere to go other than to further manipulate and shame their child. They're still doing the exact same thing. They've just dressed it up differently. Consistently doing something that isn't getting you results is not going to consistently doing something that is not getting you results is consistently going to not get you results, no matter how you dress it up. And this is hard. I'm not going to say it's easy because it's not. We've spent our whole lives being taught what not to do, so that's really easy. It's within our wheelhouse. It's easy for us to regurgitate it to our kids without having to think about it. Flipping your thinking from punishment to teaching, it takes a lot of practice. It takes patience. It takes accountability. That's why the parenting posse is as popular as it is. That's why Parentability has a very low turnover rate, and some members have been with us for literally years, because it's a lot easier to make changes stick with accountability. It's a lot easier to make changes when you have a community to debrief with and talk it through and find those holes so that we can plug them. It's the difference between trying to reinvent the wheel and just improving the wheel, upgrading from stone to wood to rubber. And the beauty of this is that the more we refine, the more we tweak, the more we troubleshoot, our kids are watching us, and they are also gaining better and better skills so that eventually we don't actually have to tweak or troubleshoot anything. They'll come to us to tweak and troubleshoot. My 7-year-old is finally starting to do this, and it's awesome. He has never experienced a timeout. He has never used a sticker chart. He has never been spanked. And he now comes to me with his problems and works with me to solve them. So instead of stonewalling me and being like, I'm not doing math, it's stupid, I'm now getting, Mom, math is really hard for me today because I'm tired and I'm hungry. Can we either do math on my tablet using Prodigy, or can I just go for a run first? That's the result of consistently teaching him what to do, how to do it, and tweaking and troubleshooting when he couldn't do it. And that process does not start at age 7, does not start when they go to school. Once they're in school, I'm not going to say that it's a lost cause because it's not, but it is that much harder because they are outside of your immediate circle of influence now. The time to be teaching these things is when they're 2, 3, 4, because 1, they're more within our circle of influence, but 2, that way by the time they're 7, 8, 9, they have the skills to come to us and to actually engage in a conversation because we built them up before they really needed them. So going back to that meme, if you are consistently irritated that your children won't change, but you're also not changing your approach, you're not trying new angles, then you are modeling that rigidity for your children, and nothing is going to improve because children are our mirrors and they reflect what they see. And by trying new angles, I do not mean, oh, he didn't respond to the sticker chart, maybe I'll try a clip chart instead. Right? That's a strategy. Your base angle didn't change. You're still trying to manipulate them. You're still trying to highlight their failures and motivate them. And therefore, it's exactly what you're going to get back. So for those of you who are like, yes, let's try something new, anything new, grab my scripts. It's a collection of 10 one-liner scripts to address 10 different behaviors, and I explain why the scripts work and how to continue the conversation beyond that first opening line. They're totally free, and I love them because they're just a great example of how when we change our behavior and start teaching, they follow suit and their behavior changes, generally quite quickly. So you can grab those in the description box. Alrighty. That's it for today. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again next week for another Uncommon Sense parenting class.